Maria van Angola, free black colonist. Slavery was part of New York life almost from its beginning, but for some, there was a route out. The Dutch system enabled some enslaved people to own property, get married, and even petition for freedom. The story of Maria van Angola shows how one African woman gained freedom and passed an impressive legacy to her children as part of a free black community. The Dutch West India Company had trouble attracting workers to the tiny outpost of New Netherland. Indeed, directors warned that its colony had so few people that foreign princes and potentates would soon entirely overrun the colony. Beginning in 1626, the company began bringing enslaved people from Africa to New Amsterdam and forcing them to do the colony's labor. By 1650, about a quarter of the people in New Amsterdam were enslaved. The Dutch West India Company forced most of them to do the work building Fort Amsterdam at the lower end of Manhattan, and building a wall protecting the north side of town. They also had enslaved people build a road leading to the new settlement of Haarlem, while others worked on company-owned farms or boweries. Since the Dutch customarily called people by their places of origin, we can tell where most of the first generation of enslaved people in New Amsterdam came from. Their birthplaces were mostly Portuguese territories or trading allies, ranging from Europe to southern Africa. The largest number of New Amsterdam's enslaved people, including Maria van Angola, came from the Kingdom of Angola, a major trading ally of Portugal and Holland. They were probably trafficked through the port of Luanda. We have no portraits or images of the enslaved and free Africans in New Amsterdam, but Dutch and Flemish artists depicted African people from similar backgrounds in the Netherlands in 1500s and 1600s. Maria van Angola's name suggests that she was born in the Kingdom of Angola and came to New Amsterdam on the first shipload of enslaved people in 1626. She originally appears in the historical record in 1640 when she was witnessed a baptism in the Dutch Reformed Church. 2 years later, 2 years later, she had a son named Dominicus baptized there. The Dutch had no clear laws defining or regulating slavery in the early 1600s. It was unclear what rights enslaved people might have or how they might become free. In this ambiguous situation, Maria van Angola and others used several strategies to secure rights and freedom for themselves and their families, including legal action, church membership, and control of land. The Dutch system gave marriages between enslaved people official status. In 1642, Maria and Antony Fernando Portuguese, the father of her child, formally married in the Dutch Reformed Church. Antony and had already survived a dangerous brush with the law. Over the next 7 years, they had five more children and embarked on a long struggle for freedom and security for their family. Some enslaved people achieved legal standing in Dutch courts. They could own property, work for wages, and sue when they were not paid. In fact, legal records show that Maria's husband had once sued for damages that a merchant's dog had done to his pig. Access to the legal system became an important tool for African people in obtaining and defending their freedom. Some Afro-Dutch people had already encountered Christianity in Africa, and many joined the Dutch Reformed Church in New Amsterdam in hopes of gaining freedom for themselves or their children. Maria van Angola was an active church member for at least 41 years and acted as a witness for many baptisms. In 1643, as the colony was at war with the Mohawk Nation, the company emancipated 11 people. Each received a small plot of land, about 5 to 10 acres, north of the wall on today's Wall Street, where they could act as a buffer against native incursions. These Africans were half-free, meaning that they were still expected to pay fees to the company, and their children would not be legally free. Owning land meant more than a farm. It was a key to status as a freeholder, with political rights. Listed among the original owners of small farms was a woman called Miracle, who may have been Maria van Angola. Over the next 19 years, 22 more free blacks received small land grants, including Maria's husband, Anthony Portuguese, in 1645. Maria van Angola took advantage of the openness of the Dutch racial system, but near the end of Dutch rule, that openness was shutting down. The church began discouraging baptisms of Africans and large land grants to Africans became more rare. The English takeover in 1664 shut the system down further, ending land grants, discouraging emancipation, and barring Africans from testifying in court. After the English took over New Amsterdam and named it New York, most of the black landowners sold their small plots or lost them in seizures. The English also clamped down in their control of the enslaved population. Unlike Anthony Portuguese, who was pardoned in 1641, the suspected leaders of slave revolts in 1712 and 1741 were burned at the stake. Maria managed to hold on, however. She retained her freedom through the changeover to English rule, and in 1681 she married a second time, this time to Bastiaan Malthussen, a black leader whom the Dutch had called the Captain of the Negroes. They were listed in the church record as both living on the Great Hudson River. The record shows that Maria's adopted daughter, Susanna, held on to the family land until at least 1717. Susanna's brother, Joachim, became an apprentice, learned to read and write, and joined the Dutch church in Hackensack, New Jersey. These hints suggest that the next generations continued to benefit from the freedoms that Maria and Antony had fought for.